One important effect of pollution is the greenhouse effect. The CO2, methane, nitrogen dioxide and ozone gases create a blanket effect on the earth. They hold up the heat of the sun. During the day, the earth gets heated up due to the sun's rays, and at night the heat is emitted and goes back to the sky. Due to this, the weather on the earth remains cool, and this is the natural greenhouse effect. So long as the proportion of gases in the atmosphere are balanced, the living things on the earth are protected. But if this proportion increases, then global warming takes place and it has to be faced. Due to the smoke from vehicles and factories and fuel burning, the greenhouse gases have increased. Due to this, the absorption of heat has increased, and so the greenhouse effect takes place. If greenhouse gases would not have been there, then temperature would be at minus 18 degrees centigrade. For a human being to survive, a temperature of 15 degrees centigrade is required. After China and North America, India stands at the third position in the production of greenhouse gases. Acid rain is a very grave health hazard created due to pollution. After burning coal, wood and oil, the oxides of sulfur and nitrogen are released in water. They get mixed in rainwater, and from it sulfuric acid and nitric acid get formed. When these acids mix in the rainwater or snowflakes, then the rain which falls is called acid rain. Rainwater is pure. In this water, CO2, ammonia and iron are present in small amounts. The pH of pure water is 7, but the pH of rainwater is 5.6. When this pH gets less than 5.6, then that rainwater is called as acid rain. The effects of this are felt on the human body. Asthma, diseases of the lungs, heart and arteries, the harmful effects on the uterus and childbearing are included. Acid rain badly affects the place where it falls and on microorganisms, animals, plants and the fishes in the rivers and nullahs. When acid rain falls on crops and plants, then the signs of damage are seen on the leaves. Leaves get spots, burn out or get twisted. Research showed that the Melamsora medusa disease on the oak tree reduced by 14% when normal rain fell on it. Acid rain was first identified in 1872 in Sweden, and in 1950 its study began in North America. Mount Mitchell is a high mountain located in North Carolina on the east side of the Mississippi River. It is full of several species of spruce and fir trees. In 1980, scientists started studying the effects of air pollution and acid rain on the ecosystem on Mount Mitchell. After some years of research, it was finally concluded in 1988 that industrial pollution from Ohio and Tennessee valleys was moving to this mountain, and this was creating lingering pollutants due to which acid rain was getting formed. Even now it is affecting the trees there. Similarly, it is seen that the ozone at a lower height and acidic moisture are affecting the Appalachian mountain ranges. Acid rain has not only affected plants and animals but also buildings, statues, historical sites, bridges, metal figures, wire fences, etc. Due to acid rain, heavy metals like cadmium and mercury are indirectly getting absorbed in plants and enter the food chain. Since the water in water bodies and waterways becomes acidic, specific metals and plastic enter into the drinking water, and this has led to severe health problems. Air pollution is of grave concern and remedial measures need to be seriously planned. For this, the smoke from factories and vehicles needs to be controlled. There are harmful pollutants in the smoke coming out from factories. It should be made compulsory to control pollution by making use of control mechanisms. Vehicles should be tested periodically, and this should be made mandatory. The garbage which spreads foul smells should be properly destroyed, or it can be categorized and reused. Nuclear tests, chemical weapons should be controlled, and such measures as limiting the production of CFC should be adopted. In 2015, the Indian government in association with IIT Kanpur started measuring as per the National Air Quality Index. India started the National Clean Air Program. In this, it has been pointed out that by 2024, pollution will be lesser by 20 to 30%. To decide on the air quality, the quantity of sulfur oxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone are measured on a daily basis. So student friends, study the boards showing the pollution level at the most congested area in your city. One important effect of pollution is the greenhouse effect. The CO2, methane, nitrogen dioxide and ozone gases create a blanket effect on the earth. They hold up the heat of the sun. During the day, the earth gets heated up due to the sun's rays, and at night the heat is emitted and goes back to the sky. Due to this, the weather on the earth remains cool, and this is the natural greenhouse effect. So long as the proportion of gases in the atmosphere are balanced, the living things on the earth are protected. But if this proportion increases, then global warming takes place and it has to be faced. Acid rain is a very grave health hazard created due to pollution. After burning coal, wood and oil, the oxides of sulfur and nitrogen are released in water. They get mixed in rainwater and from it sulfuric acid and nitric acid get formed. When these acids mix in the rainwater or snowflakes, then the rain which falls is called acid rain.
My research question is related to the air pollution that mankind is emitting into the atmosphere. We have a growing number of people, we have a growing number of industries, we have a lot of traffic putting exhausts and all kinds of things into the atmosphere. And the question first is, what is happening with all this air pollution? Where does it go? Is it being converted into something that can be easily removed so that it doesn't pollute the atmosphere anymore? Or is it being transported across national boundaries so that the air pollution from one country can affect also the other country and so on, maybe even from one continent to the other? And the other question is, related question is, what does it do to people? So there is a lot of air pollution in the atmosphere, that's obvious, you can see that every day, and in some regions of our globe air pollution can be very heavy. And the question is, how does the air pollution affect the health of people? And actually, the health of people, if it is affected, it actually means that people can get seriously ill from air pollution and can even lead to mortality. People die from air pollution. I call this also passive smoking type of effect from air pollution. So the question is really, how does the air pollution get into the atmosphere? What happens to it? How does it affect people? And in this specific case, how does it contribute to premature mortality of people due to air pollution? Yes, the method we use is to estimate how much worldwide air pollution exposes to people. So how much are people exposed to air pollution? And since air pollution moves around in the atmosphere very quickly, we need to do this on a global scale. We need to know how much air pollution goes from China to the United States and from the United States to Europe, so we need a global view. Now, we have a number of measurement stations in Europe, for example, in Germany, but also in the United States and in some other parts of the world. But in most of the world, actually, we do not have this information. So the question is, how do we get a global view of air pollution? And this can be done by using the data, the measurement data that are available, but they need to be integrated into a larger picture. And for this we use models. So we use models that, for example, are also used for the prediction of weather. There are global models that predict the weather, and that can be extended with all kinds of processes that deal with air pollution. And the second important thing is that recently, I would say the last decade or a few decades, also satellites have become available that give us information about air pollution on a global scale. Now, a problem with the satellites is that they give a global information, but the information is of low resolution. So there's not a lot of detail in this information. So the thing is, we need to put these things all together in order to get a global view. So we assimilate the data that we have into the model. So we steer the model by using the data, and we use the model to get a global view. And that gives us an opportunity to get a global concentration field of all the air pollution that people are being exposed to. So that's the first important step. We need to know how much people are being exposed to. And then the second step is that we need to know how does this exposure affect the health of people. Now there we are not actually medical doctors, we are not in the medical research, so there we work with people who are in the public health research sector. So with epidemiologists, and they have used many thousands, by now by millions of data of people that they have been following in time in order to study how much their health is being impaired by air pollution. And then we combine these data in order to have the global view and the global exposure of people to air pollution, and then calculate how much their health is being affected. An important point is also that people are being affected by air pollution and also by other diseases in different ways in different continents. So the health condition of people in Africa is different from Asia, and is different from the United States, and is different from Europe or in Germany. So there we use data that we have from the World Health Organization that provide information on the country level health of people. We call this the baseline mortality rates related to specific diseases. Now by combining all these data, including the data on how many people live where, so we also need what we call demographic data, population data, by combining all these things we are able to estimate how much people are being affected by air pollution, and how many people die from which disease related to air pollution. The key finding of our paper is that many people, namely 3.3 million people per year, die because of air pollution. I call this passive smoking on a global scale. And to put this in context, if you take HIV, AIDS, and malaria together, about 1.5 million people die per year. So from air pollution, we have more than double that amount. It's more than 3 million people per year that die from air pollution. Now, the next thing is, of course, what are the diseases that are related to this premature mortality? We have cerebrovascular disease, which leads to stroke. We have ischemic heart disease, which leads to heart attacks. So this is about 75% of all the premature mortality related to air pollution. It is about similar as smoking. And the other 25% are respiratory disease. This can be in small children, but they can also be in older people, like with lung cancer or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So these are the main diseases that cause premature death related to air pollution. The next question, of course, if you want to do something about this, we need to understand the sources. How can you most effectively do something about the sources? Now, this is where we can use our model, and we can distinguish a number of categories. We see natural categories in some areas, like where you have deserts in Africa or the Middle East, you have a lot of dust in the air. But in most urban environments, it's actually another reason. And it is traffic is one cause, but a major cause actually are small fires. We call this residential energy use. On a global scale, about 75% of all the premature mortality related to air pollution is in Asia. And in Asia, especially in South Asia, this cooking and heating produces an immense amount of air pollution. So people are exposed to immense amounts of air pollution from very small sources. But there are many people creating these small sources, and these sources are very polluting. And altogether, this creates an enormous smoke plume that people are being exposed to. So that's in Asia. In Eastern Asia, in China, for example, it is more traffic and energy production, also using coal. This is also in the United States. And especially in Europe, we have a large contribution also from agriculture. Agriculture produces a gas called ammonia from animal husbandry and from fertilizer use. And the ammonia creates particles in the atmosphere. And it's actually the particles who are the bad guys causing the problem in terms of premature death because of air pollution. It is fine particles that can penetrate deeply into the lungs and even into the bloodstream that cause these problems. And ammonia is extremely effective in making these particles. So in Europe, for example, we find that something like 30 to 40% of all the premature mortality is related to agriculture. We think that these findings are important and relevant to policy making, to people, because now we have a tool in our hands that can tell us how you most effectively reduce this problem. Because if you only measure air pollution, you know how much is there, but you don't know how to control it. You need to know what are the main sources that cause this problem. And by using our model in combination with, for example, the satellite data, we can calculate what are the main sources and how you can most effectively reduce the air pollution that causes health effects. And what we find is that we have residential energy use in Asia, which can be, for example, be reduced by distributing cook stoves, like in India. There are large programs that give people cook stoves so that the burning is more efficient. To provide clean fuels is very important. Actually, in India, there is a big program providing clean fuels, and this will help reduce this problem. And in Europe, for example, we need to do something about the emissions from agriculture. Now, of course, it will not be possible to tell agriculture to stop doing this, but I think there are methods that will reduce the amount of ammonia that comes out of agriculture, like not spraying all the manure over the land and so that all the ammonia gets into the air. Use actually the manure to make biogas, or also have more efficient methods of applying a fertilizer on the soils to make sure that the ammonia that is needed as a fertilizer gets into the soil and not gets back into the atmosphere. So there are methods to deal with these problems, and I think our research is helping to identify the problems and to make the policymakers and the public aware of how to most effectively deal with air pollution and prevent it from killing people. So the outlook is that we need to reduce uncertainties. I mentioned that there is a number, 3.3 million people per year dying from air pollution, but in reality, actually, there is an uncertainty of about plus or minus 50%. So it could be 1.6, which is still a large number, but it could also be 4.8 million per year, which is a huge number. So we need to reduce these uncertainties, also to tell policymakers where and how to most effectively reduce the problem. And the second issue is we need to discuss also with policymakers and the public what are the levels that are acceptable. Where do we draw the line? For example, in Australia, it's allowed to have 8 micrograms per cubic meter of fine particulates in the air per year on average. In Canada, it's 10. In the United States, it's 12. And in Europe, it's 25. It's twice or more than twice in the United States. So people here are not stronger. They're exposed to more air pollution, and actually the per capita mortality because of air pollution for that reason is higher in Europe than it is in the United States. So we also need to work with legislators, not only to show them how to reduce this problem, but also to convince them of the fact that they need to put in place laws that prevent air pollution from killing people. 25 micrograms per cubic meter is much too high. The third issue for the future is that we also need to look at low levels of air pollution. Of course, at some point, air pollution will be reduced, but still, the question is, how much air pollution can people accept? How much is not affecting human health? And the current thinking in the medical and epidemiological community is actually that there is probably none. So all air pollution is causing health problems. And this is a big issue because now we not only have a problem within the cities where air pollution is high, we would then in that case also have a problem outside of the cities where the air pollution is lower. And probably you need to have other measures in place to take care of that type of air pollution as compared to city air pollution. So all in all, I think we need to reduce uncertainties, become more precise in how we define what is still acceptable, and also look at low concentrations and see what low concentrations of air pollution lead to in terms of human health impacts.
Air pollution sensors are devices that detect and monitor the presence of air pollution in the surrounding area. They can be used for both indoor and outdoor environments. These sensors can be built at home, or bought from certain manufacturers. Although there are various types of air pollution sensors, and some are specialized in certain aspects, the majority focuses on 5 components: ozone, particulate matter, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrous oxide. The sensors were very expensive in the past, but with technological advancements these sensors are becoming more affordable and more widespread throughout the population. These sensors can help serve many purposes and help bring attention to environmental issues beyond the scope of the human eye. The EPA maintains a repository of air quality data through the Air Quality System (AQS), where it stores data from over 10,000 monitors in the United States. While use of these sensors was expensive in the past, the 2010s saw a recent trend towards the development of cheaper portable air quality sensors that can be worn by individuals to monitor local air quality levels. These sensors can then, in turn, help measure the spatio-temporal coverage and variety of chemical species, and empower individuals and communities to better understand their exposure environments and risks from air pollution. A research group led by William Griswold at UCSD handed out portable air pollution sensors to 16 commuters, and found urban valleys where buildings trap pollution. The group also found that passengers in buses have higher exposures compared to those in automobiles. Scientific evidence has indicated that indoor air pollution can be worse than outdoor pollutants in large and industrialized cities. Many products and chemicals used inside the home, for cooking and heating, and for appliances and home decor are primary sources of indoor air pollutants. Everything we use in the home contributes to the pollution, and can possibly degrade the environment. Air pollution is responsible for 7 million premature deaths around the world each year. When pollutants enter the body through our respiratory system, they can be absorbed in the blood and travel throughout the body, and can directly damage the heart and other vital organs. Health Canada's research confirms that poor air quality is hazardous to human health, and as the population ages more Canadians are at risk. Young children are at risk because on a per-body weight basis, they tend to inhale relatively more air than adults, and their immature defense systems make them more susceptible to air pollution. The elderly are also at risk due to their weaker lungs, heart, and defense systems. The elderly also tend to have undiagnosed respiratory or cardiovascular health conditions. People participating in strenuous work or sporting activities outdoors breathe more deeply and rapidly than their sedentary counterparts. This increases the risk of these individuals developing air pollution-related diseases. Due to its aging and expanding population, the number of Canadians affected grows each year. It is estimated that tens of thousands of Canadians die prematurely each year due to acute air pollution, and that high summer temperatures lead to increased illnesses, hospitalization and deaths among older adults. Air pollution sensors can help people control their environments to a certain extent and increase awareness of the pollutants around them. If people are more aware of the contents of the environment, they can change their routines and habits in order to be less affected by air pollution. This can help increase the quality of life and overall health of people at risk. For example, if one bedroom has more pollutants than another, the room with less pollutants would be more suitable for infants or the elderly, and anyone else that is at risk. Having the ability to monitor and record air pollution can help shape our daily activities and routines. For example, When planning outdoor activities, one might want to go for a run early morning or a particular time in the day where the pollution rating is not so high. We may pick our transportation routes based on the air pollution rating. Since we often cannot see or detect any slight changes to our environment, these sensors can provide a significant amount of information. The air particles are so small, but can have adverse effects on our overall health.